Hello and welcome back to this channel. I hope you're having an amazing day. Happy Monday. It is December 15th, so it is 4 days away from unsealing. Apparently, allegedly, possibly, maybe, we are going to get some unsealing on the 19th, so we are doing a countdown. Welcome back to this channel. My name is Mandy Magnan. I'm an actress, writer, producer, and director, as well as a movie reviewer, pop culture, and your YouTube commentator for everything it ends with never. In this video today, we are going to play a fun game called This Bee is Crazy. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Grab your emotional support lip gloss. You are in frame with Mandy Magnan. Now, over the weekend, I saw many content creators pop up supporting Blake Lively. A lot of people calling Wayfair liars, liars, liars. And then I saw a video by Chris, the PR guy, who also was kind of like, is it just me or am I seeing a lot of more pro Blake Lively in the past week pop up? And that got me thinking like, yeah, dang, me too. How's that possible? What's going on? If anything, all of her lies have been debunked already. So where are these pro Blake, where are these stands coming from? And it really got me thinking, like, I think because of Wayfair's brand and who Justin Baldoni and Jamie Heath are, that everyone put them on these massive pedestals of like idols and gods and perfect men, right? The perfect of perfect men, and they'll never get angry, and they never did this, and there's no way they could have even interrupted or did this, and like they unequivocally denied every single allegation, of course, against Blake Lively. And now this other stuff is coming out that they were kind of hostile towards another producer and all of this stuff. And I think it's because people just idolize them so much and put them on this perfect pedestal up here that even when they fell a little bit or some of the facade and the mask kind of slipped, everyone thought, see, they're liars. There's their mask. They're slipping. Well, no one is perfect, and everyone loses their temper, and especially on set when it can be so stressful and you have people, a group of people single-handedly undermining you and being completely insubordinate every chance they got every single day, to the point where the producer, Alex Sachs, who was hired to just be a producer on set, in her own words, said that she was pretty angry that then they hired Jamie Heath to be the man on set when she was fully capable of doing it, and then was trying to push the director out so that she could actually direct. Yeah, people are going to be a little irritated. They might interrupt and yell at you, okay? No one's perfect, and people have boundaries, and they met the Wayfair boundaries because they pushed and pushed and pushed these men until finally they were like, whoa. So because of all of this discourse happening, and because of these pro Blakeskis coming out and being like, see, Wayfair is lying, see, Justin Baldoni isn't perfect, oh my God, he's mean, he lied, I like to play a game called This Bee is Crazy. And we are going to debunk Blake Lively's lies one by one in this video. And we are actually only going to use her return to protections document against her, because in that document, you could just see that it was a lie and a lie and a lie and a lie. We can go over her entire original complaint, which I've done now many times, and debunk every single action and show that those were all completely taken out of context, twisted and distorted. We can do that, but I thought just going over the return to protections document would suffice. Now, taking this document on its face already is a lie. Not only has Blake Lively and her attorneys refused to produce the original document, they have refused Wayfair to produce any of the metadata pertaining to this document. They have refused to provide the original. Already on its face, the document that was provided to the New York Times, as well as in Blake Lively's CRD complaint, is a lie, because she never used the words no more, no more, no more, no more. Also, some of the things that she added is also a lie, and they had never been brought up before. So she admits that she read from her phone. Justin and Jamie admit that she read from her phone these lists of grievances. but never used the word no more. As well as some of the things that were then added to her CRD complaint, as well as put into the New York Times, were new that she had never even brought up in the infamous January 4th meeting. The fact that she went ahead and re-edited her grievances for salacious headlines in the New York Times and then had the audacity to even put no more, no more, no more to then further attack Justin Baldoni should be enough for people to see the evils in which this B is working out of. But it's not enough. It's not enough that she just had this return to protections document that she was using. She re-edited it to further attack them once it hit the New York Times in her CRD complaint. That's crazy. To use a DV organization called No More, who partnered with a film that she was an executive producer, landed the PGA mark with, and apparently did so much work on when she was just hired as an actor. That DV organization, No More, is still attached to her film. Is still attached to DV survivors. And for her to use even that, No More, against Justin Baldoni should tell you everything you need to know. But again, it hasn't. So let's go over all of the points on her return to work protections list and see what these allegations really are. And this is a segment I like to call This Bee is Crazy. And now I don't want to spread any misinformation here or use anything. This is coming from Blake Lively's own filing. This was the first thing that she filed, Exhibit A. This was filed on December 31st, 2024. This is the email from her lawyers. Dear Eileen and Joseph, with the tentative resolution of the SAG-AFTRA strike, we are writing to address how to handle a return to the set of It Ends With Us, the film. It is no surprise to the film's producers that the experience of shooting the film has been deeply concerning on many levels. The complaints of our client and others have been repeatedly conveyed and well documented throughout the pre-production and photography. While we reserve all legal rights, at this stage, our client is willing to forego a more formal HR process in favor of everyone returning to work and finishing the film, as long as the set is safe moving forward. So therefore, there's no lawsuit. First of all, she brought up her complaints, the same 4 dang things over and over and over, and they were resolved on the spot, and then she kept bringing them up for weeks and weeks and weeks. That's besides the point. We're not getting into her motives or to take over the movie, because I fully believe that everything was fine until she was finally told no during the strike on receiving the dailies, and then that's when she started to push back. However, just from this line alone, there shouldn't be litigation. While we reserve all legal rights, at this stage, our client is willing to forego a more formal HR process in favor of everyone returning to work and finishing the film, as long as the set is safe moving forward. Which it was. In Blake Lively's own words, everything was fine. Okay, so period, point blank. You brought up the concerns in writing. They agreed, even though they didn't agree. They agreed in the end, whatever, because they weren't allowed to change any of the wording. Regardless of that, you got what you wanted. So it was a wrap, but it wasn't, obviously, because then that brings us here today. In order for our client to feel safe returning to the production, we are attaching a list of protections that will need to be guaranteed and observed by the film's producers. If the production is unwilling to accept or uphold these protections, our client is prepared to pursue her full legal rights and remedies. Well, they did uphold everything on the list. This letter is not intended to constitute a full statement of all facts and circumstances relating to this matter. Right, because good thing it didn't, because this B is crazy, because these weren't facts or full circumstances of anything relating to any of her issues. It is not intended to be, nor should it be construed as waiver, release, or relinquishment of any of our clients' rights or remedies, legal or equitable, all of which are hereby expressly reserved. Okay. So as you can see, just from looking at her original email, where does it say no more, no more, no more? And it is only 17 points. Okay, just for reference, I want to show you how it looked in her CRD complaint and as well as how it appeared in the New York Times. You can see how it says no more, no more, no more, no more, no more, and there are 30 no mores. Yet, in the actual email she sent, there is none of that. There is none of the no mores, and it's only 17 points, which means this B is crazy. Let's just go one by one by one. An intimacy coordinator must be present at all times when Blake Lively is on set. Very interesting, because there was an intimacy coordinator, now we know, was hired months in advance in pre-production, as well as before writing this email, Blake Lively hadn't filmed any intimate scenes. Blake Lively actually asked Justin Baldoni to postpone any scenes with her in it, with her body in it, because she was feeling not quite her best. Now we can go through a few text messages that Blake Lively sent in pre-production, one of them being on February 9th, 2023, 3 months before going to camera, where she tells Justin Baldoni that she's 20 pounds away from her goal weight. She writes to Justin Baldoni, "Your friendship support helped me with that also, so thank you. Not holding to anything professionally, just thank you for the friendship side in the meantime." With prayer hands. Justin Baldoni replies, "For real, I was worried about you. That's so much to hold. I'm really happy for you. I bet you feel 100 pounds lighter." Blake Lively says, "I really, really do. Only 20 to go. LOL." And he disliked the LOLs. "I'm sorry, so this is after the circumcision? Oh, I'm sorry, so this was after he asked your trainer how much you weigh? Is this sexual harassment now too, that he's telling you, oh, you must feel 1,000 times lighter?" And she says, "I really do. Only 20 to go." As a joke, meaning she only has 20 more pounds to lose. And he disliked that message and sent what looks like a hugging emoji, which she put heart eyes and a smiley face. So even after the whole circumcision, even after the whole fat shaming by the trainer, even after Jamie Heath sexually harassed her by saying, "You're going to be birthed into this role," she's thanking him for "your friendship support helped me a lot," and sending him heart eyes emojis. And then a week later, she sends text to Justin Baldoni talking about how when her and Ryan take a role, it's like they're like athletes and da-da-da-da-da, and how they know that even though this movie, it requires a certain aesthetic, even though they're both so woke. And as much as I'd love not to think about that, would be irresponsible and also impossible, because it's unrealistic to not acknowledge what I need to do. She goes on to say, "Is there's any chance that we can do body scenes at the end of the schedule, as in after the strike?" Then in April of 2023, even though all of this other stuff allegedly happened with Jamie and Justin, Blake is still loving them, wishing them, and "thank you and Jamie for such a kind voice note. Da-da-da-da-da." Then they hire an intimacy coordinator in April, and they say, "Just hired intimacy coordinator who I love. We'll set you up to meet. FaceTime with her next week for intro." She writes, "I feel good. I can meet her when we start. Thank you, though." There was an intimacy coordinator, and she didn't film any of her scenes with intimacy until phase 2, well after sending this list. So the whole "an intimacy coordinator must be present," this B is crazy. Number one, intimacy coordinators don't have to be present 100% of the time when you're filming all scenes. They are an intimacy coordinator because they are there for intimacy. Number two, there must be a closed set during the rehearsal or filming of any scene involving simulated sex or nudity, and any observation via remote monitor shall be restricted to essential personnel as approved by Blake Lively. To be further described in a fully negotiated, fully executed, SAG-compliant nudity writer. Well, I'm assuming she's meaning the hospital scene. First of all, Blake Lively, you are an actor, so you don't get to decide who are essential personnel, okay? This B is crazy. Also, this is the call sheet from the day where they were doing the interior Grace Hospital shoot. Lily is in labor. This is the day. This was on Monday, May 22nd. As you can see circled in red, it was a closed set. The reason why they didn't have a fully negotiated, fully executed, SAG-compliant nudity writer is because Miss Blake Lively didn't meet with the intimacy coordinator. She didn't even agree to her actor loan-out agreement. She didn't sign any of her contracts. So if there wasn't one in place that was fully negotiated, Blake, hello, this bee is crazy. Number 3, there is to be no spontaneous improvising of any scenes involving physical touching, simulated sex, or nudity. Scenes involving kissing, depictions of sexual intercourse, or any other physical touching must be contained in the screenplay as approved by Blake Lively, choreographed in advance in the presence of the intimacy coordinator, and may only proceed as choreographed with the consent of all participants in advance. Well, y'all already know what I gotta say about this. This bee is crazy because now we actually have footage of Blake Lively improvising a freaking kiss with Justin Baldoni. Yes, not only that, but in other scenes, she improvised kisses however she felt, and it's on video. Also, when you say physical touching, I mean, if you are in a freaking dance montage and, you know, he touches your shoulders and you're like, we didn't rehearse with you touching my shoulders, get over yourself. This is absolutely nuts, okay? It's nuts. And again, as we know now, no intimate scenes were recorded before she even wrote this. And what's so interesting about Miss Blake Lively and her intimacy and her kissing and her nudity and all of this is something that Miss Bochi caught on TikTok, and watch this video.
So I was sent a very interesting article in my DM, and there's two sections in this article that stands out to me. The article is Blake Lively opens up about the most intense film of her career. How All I See You challenged Lively to dig into a difficult role and see nude scenes in a new light. And this was October 2, 2017. It says, her team assumed that she would not be interested in a role that required nudity, and Forster was unwilling to remove it. And then this was Blake Lively's quote. I thought, well, he's not unmoving. Let me read it, and if it's great, then I'll talk him out of it. So again, she knew the director felt very passionate about having this scene in the movie, right? And she thought that if she liked it, that instead of allowing an actor that cares about the movie and would do it the way the director wanted it, that instead she would get the role and just convince him to remove it. So Lively read the script and instantly fell in love, nude scene and all. The way Forster had written it actually changed the way Lively viewed on-screen nudity. I always find nudity distracting, she says. We know. Even when the nudity is not the nudity that you're claiming the nudity to be. Natasha absolutely knows. I'm very in love with my husband. Very convincing. But if there's a pair of boobs out, I'm a human being. You're like, boobs. It doesn't mean I'm lusting for them, but when there's naked boobies, you look at them.
So it doesn't seem like Miss Blake Lively ever got a script and just went with the script, agreed on the script. No, she wanted to take scripts and continually change them to conform to her instead of actually just do scripts and stories that are her clear boundaries. Girl, it's ridiculous, okay? You can't just agree to come on to projects and then want to change everything when you're on this. We already know It Ends With Us was supposed to be an R-rated, violent, highly sexual film surrounding DV, and now we got a PG-13, bring your florals, grab your girlfriends. Get out of here. This bee is crazy. Number 4, Physical touching and or comments on Blake Lively's physical appearance must only be done and made in connection with the character and scene work, not as to Blake Lively personally, except as written into the screenplay or as strictly required in connection with her makeup or costume preparation. There is to be no physical touching, including hugging of Blake Lively, her on-set personnel, and or her employees. There's a lot to unpack here, okay? First of all, if she's talking about the sexy remark, we've gone over that in exhaustion about that freaking remark, sexy. And guess what? It had to do with the wardrobe, girl, okay? It had to do with you referencing you wanted to be sexy, okay? I have yet to see any comment made by Justin Baldoni and or Jamie Heath that was directed to Blake Lively as Blake Lively personally. Even in the dance montage, everything Justin was doing as he was out of character was still in connection with trying to direct Blake to be in a scene. And now when it comes to hugging, no, not even going there, because this B is crazy. Hugging, we already know that other people that have worked with Blake Lively have been fired. Interns fired because they looked at Blake Lively, because then they looked at her. They made eye contact. Then she went off and got these interns fired because she felt that they were like looking at her some way. Ew, ew, ew. Number 5, because I'm not going into hugging, okay? Hugging, that's why we're here, Miss Blake Lively. Hugging, Number 5, there are to be no discussions of personal experiences with sex or nudity, including as it relates to conduct with spouses or others. Oh, let's get into this one because this B is crazy. And for this, let's just bring up Justin Baldoni's deposition because we don't have anything from Blake's side yet because everything is under seal. Anything that could help her case or not, I guess, is under seal. This is in his deposition. The day before, I had a meeting with the intimacy coordinator to go over ideas for all these scenes. I wrote down a bunch of notes from that meeting. The following day, I had a meeting set with Miss Lively to specifically talk about the sex scenes. That was the actual point of the meeting. In that meeting, I had read through and walked through the notes that I had discussed with the intimacy coordinator. One of them was an idea that had come up where Ryle and Lily were making love. Lily had climaxed or had an orgasm, to speak frankly here, and Ryle did not. And the idea is the intimacy coordinator and I were talking about things that women have not seen on camera yet, things that would be unique, that would be attractive to the female gaze, which was the purpose of that meeting. The idea was that Ryle would then stop and just say, "Watching you was enough," or "I'm good," or something like that. When I shared that with Miss Lively, she then made it personal and said, "Oh God, that would mortify me if that happened to me." To which I then responded, as one does, because you're two grown adults with children who are married, in the context of talking about sex scenes with a movie you're making with a person who is understanding that there are going to be sex scenes in a book based with a lot of sex in it. The only thing you really have to share are personal experiences. So I said, "Oh, well, some of the most beautiful moments have been when that's happened with me and my wife, and that was it." "So you were interested in shooting the scene from the female gaze?" "I was interested in shooting all the sex scenes from the female gaze." So again, this B is crazy. It was in conversation about sex scenes. It was in conversation about one particular shot where she brought it up first. Oh my God, I would be mortified if that happened to me. Which tells me, girl, I don't think your man is pleasing you the way he's supposed to be pleasing you, okay? Because nothing like just being laid out and brought to all heavens. You know what I mean? Anyway, don't get me started on that. I'm about to blush, y'all. But come on. This is ridiculous. Okay, we continue. Number 6, no one will enter, attempt to enter, interrupt, pressure, or request entrance to Blake Lively's trailer once she is in a state of undress for any reason. No one will attempt to enter, will enter, interrupt her, pressure her, or request. What do we know about this? I think it is absolutely crazy that she is taking this instance with Jamie Heath, because what had happened, they both admit that this is what happened. They both admit. He was with Angie Giannotti from Sony, Alex Sachs, the producer, Justin Baldoni. They were all of them together, was going to Blake Lively's trailer. Jamie Heath not. This is where the situation gets a little different. Jamie Heath said he heard someone say, come in. Blake Lively saying they said, don't come in. Either way, he opened the door a little bit. He saw her lean back in a state where he says he has seen her many times like that, where she's breastfeeding or pumping openly in front of everyone. So he went in. She said to him, please turn around and face the wall. He did. Apparently during that 2-minute conversation, she noticed him looking at her in the eyes. Didn't say nothing about it. The meeting lasted about just a couple of minutes. He actually didn't know anything was wrong until a few weeks later. Blake brought it up and said, hey, I know the other day when, remember when you entered my trailer? And he was like, yeah, I saw you looking at me. And he was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. And she's like, no, it's all good. I know you weren't trying to cop a look. Who acts that way if it's actually sexual harassment? And who doesn't stop what they're doing? Cover themselves up, have the conversation, and then leave and continue. You allowed this man to come into your trailer and face the wall like a freaking child or something, put his head in the corner? That, all of it doesn't seem real. It seems made up. But off that one instance, there are protocols on set on how you enter a trailer. Plus, she had all of her own securities, her assistants, her nannies, her hair and makeup people, anyone that you could ever think of around her. Okay? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. This whole trailer thing. Now in her newest complaint, she said that he was staring fully at her breast. That's a brand new argument. That's how much it's evolved, this one little story on the trailer. But of course, no one should ever enter a trailer without knocking. There is protocols. But this is not what it says. Not attempt to enter, interrupt while she's in her trailer, pressure, whatever that means, or request entrance to Blake Lively's trailer. What's so funny about this is there are many text messages from Blake Lively asking them to go in her trailer. This one, for example, morning. If you guys want to have a 5-minute check-in before rehearsal, I can pop out of makeup early and meet you in my trailer. Eager to get back to work on a solid track. I can meet you in my trailer. So if you go to the makeup trailer, which is what usually happens, but then you are in your trailer getting makeup undone, it's just, but anyway, I can meet you in my trailer. Interesting. And let's not forget this text sent on June 2nd. So this was just days after allegedly being trapped in a dance montage and the entire chaotic birthing scene and all of this stuff where Jamie Heath walked into her trailer, but he didn't cop a look. She texts Justin, I'm just pumping in my trailer if you want to work out our lines. He says, copy eating with crew and head that way. Take your time. Pumping in my trailer. OMG. And this was just days, apparently, days after how she described the dance montage and the birthing scene. No one will enter, attempt to enter, interrupt, pressure, or request entrance to Blake Lively's trailer while she was in a state of undress for any reason. For any reason? Girl, you invited him in when you were pumping. This bee is crazy. We continue. Number 7. There shall be no rehearsal or filming of any nudity and or simulated sex without the nudity writer in place. Any such footage previously shot without the nudity writer in place and in direct violation of SAG requirements may not be used without Blake Lively and her legal rep's prior written consent. This is crazy, because if you were so strict on your nudity writer, it is your responsibility to meet with the intimacy coordinator, speak about your boundaries, go over every single thing in the script, and have that in place. You didn't do that. Now you want them to think that anything you shot that has anything to do with nudity and or simulated sex, okay, that you have the consent over what gets used. You are an actor. That's not how it works. And again, in phase 1, none of this was shot yet. So this is a direct bid for her to take control of whatever she is in that gets shot with her in it, because she will not release any footage of any simulated sex or any nudity without her consent. This is a power move. This is a move in order to get control of the edit and of all the dailies. And you can't convince me otherwise, because none of this was shot when she sent this letter. Number 8, Blake Lively may have a representative of her choosing present with her on set for the remainder of the rehearsal and shooting days, including while on a close set. Well, we know now that she got that, okay? Big freaking deal. Todd Black came in. You know what happened with Todd Black? He was signed. He was brought in, Todd Black, 30 plus years of experience, and he joined the meeting. The infamous January 4th meeting, where Blake Lively likes to call it an all hands on meeting, where everyone was aware of it. Yet there is a text message to Justin where she texts him, "Hey, I hope you and your family had a nice holiday. Would love to set the time for our meeting before we start production. We'll be back in town January 4th. Does 3 p.m. work? We'll host in Tribeca. Happy to have just you. Not sure if Jamie will be on set, but he's welcome. We can also have the whole team blank and blank if you prefer. If you prefer, let me know on all." Literally saying just you, but then she turns around and say, "Oh yeah, it was an all hands. Everyone knew it was an all hands meeting." Girl, that's not what your text said. Okay, that's not what your text said. However, Todd Black was hired. He went to the meeting, and after the meeting, he quit because he had never seen anyone in his 30 plus years degrade and berate a director and a producer the way Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively went off on Justin and Jamie for 6 hours. 6 hours, he quit. They had to in turn beg him to stay and pay him up to 3 times what his rate was. This B is crazy. Number 9. If Blake Lively is exposed to COVID-19, she must be provided notice as soon as possible after Wayfair or any producer or production executive becomes aware of such exposure. This sentence already doesn't make sense. If Blake Lively is exposed to COVID, she must be provided notice as soon as possible. Wouldn't you have notice already because you're exposed to it? I mean, it's just so crazy. And then she's going off about how they didn't have COVID protection and all of this stuff. They did. One person on the crew did get COVID while filming. I mean, it could have came from anywhere, but that person never had any interaction with Blake Lively. So they didn't need to really tell her because they were never in contact with each other. Also, Blake Lively said that she had COVID. She went home for a week and refused to have any COVID testing done. Now you have Ryan Reynolds on a late night talk show blaming his female co-host for giving him COVID. So Blake's blaming Justin. Ryan's blaming his female co-star. Who knows what is what, but it seems like the blame game just always continues with these two. And now just looking at my very own timeline here, on May 25th was when Blake learned that one of the crew had COVID. She requests that everyone get tested, which they do. The very next day, they tell all the crew before going to set they need to get tested, which was actually SAG rules. Then also on the 25th, Blake just informs the production that she's also ill. It ends with Us Movie offers to send someone to test her family. She declines, okay? The next day, Justin texted her support. She returned on June 1st. Now, you might find this funny, not funny, or interesting, but so crazy that she's saying that she's ill and COVID on May 25th. But on May 29th, Blake Lively attended Taylor Swift's Eras tour concert and in Madrid, Spain. May 29th, 4 days later. 4 days later. Yeah, some COVID she had. Wow, she's able to even travel to Spain and everything. Crazy. Oh, also in May of 2023, she attended in Philadelphia. Yeah. Yep. Cool. Good times. I think she also missed a week of shooting in the beginning of May too. Because, a an illness or death in her family, but that's besides the point. When it comes to COVID, she claimed COVID, she declined all testing, and then was in Spain for Taylor Swift's concert. So let's say it all. This bee is crazy. Number 10. There shall be no retaliation of any kind against Blake Lively for raising concerns about the conduct described in this letter or these requirements. Any changes in attitude, sarcasm, marginalization, or other negative behavior either on set or otherwise, including during publicity and promotional work as a result of these requests, is retaliatory and unacceptable and will be met with immediate action. Well, in my opinion, there was no retaliation. There was attacks from Blake Lively's side, which she has admitted. We won't be able to see it, but it's referred to a few times now in the documents that she claims, Leslie Sloan. There are some leaks happening from Blake Lively's camp, and they were retroactively defending themselves. Nowhere did Blake Lively in any of the press tour in any time ever before the New York Times story did she ever mention this list, any bad stuff on set, any sexual harassment, nothing. So how do you retaliate against someone who hasn't even brought anything up yet? I mean, it's pretty clear. So this to me already said it's a power move, and she knew what she was about to do. 11. Sony must have a mutually approved representative on set for the remainder of the rehearsal and shooting days, including on a closed set, to actively supervise the production, including monitoring the safety of the cast and crew, ensuring compliance with the schedule, and overseeing logistics, problem solving, and creative issues. And I'm sure, we don't know for sure yet, but I'm pretty sure Alex Sachs and Angie Giannotti were super happy to step into those roles. Actually, I think Angie Giannotti said for the first half of filming, she wasn't really there that much, but then in the second half, she was there every single day. Number 12 is exactly kind of like number 11, just like the other producer hired. I mean, this kind of nuts too. Wayfair will engage an additional experienced A-level producer approved by Miss Lively to actively supervise the production, including monitoring the safety of the cast and crew, ensuring compliance with the schedule, and overseeing logistics, problem solving, and creative issues. Okay, there's that. And they did. I mean, they had so many new people come on, they had to even pay Todd Black almost 3 times his rate. 13. Wayfair must empower any existing third-party producer with appropriate and customary authority to actively supervise the production, including monitoring the safety of the cast and crew, ensuring compliance with the schedule, and overseeing logistics, problem solving, and creative issues. And look at that, must empower any existing third-party producer. Well, who's that? Alex Sachs. And now we've gone into her deposition as well as everything she had to say, also in an exhausting manner. And this bee is crazy, the both of them. This was planned. Of course, she wanted Alex Sachs to have more rights. Because, why? Ding, 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 ding. They were working together. So crazy. 14. Wayfair will engage an A-list stunt double approved by Miss Lively to rehearse and perform any scenes involving the character Lily that depicts rape or any act of sexual violence. Miss Lively will only perform close-up work or other pre-approved shots for such scenes. Okay, you are an actor. You got sent the script. You clearly didn't read the book, but all the way up until here, these scenes were already supposed to be shot. And because of Blake Lively's insistent demands to reschedule everything around her body image, okay, they moved it. You knew that this was in there. You knew that these scenes were in there. First of all, you don't want to rehearse or perform any of the scenes. Okay, that's interesting because why would you sign on to this movie? But it's fine. It's okay. You want a stunt double? Guess what? They got you a friggin' stunt double. They also had a stunt double rehearse where Ryle picks up the chair, the thing that he asked the trainer about. And you and your husband, Blake Lively, got that scene removed from the script and then tried to gaslight everyone saying it wasn't even in the script. So now you don't even want to rehearse or perform any of the scenes. That's crazy. It's literally part of the movie. It's literally a movie about domestic violence. It's literally in the book. It's literally like, this B is crazy. What are you getting paid $1.75 million for? Okay. I'm so sorry. Let's move on. 15. Any rehearsal or shooting involving Miss Lively or any other performer depicting the character of Lily that involves nudity, including partial nudity or simulated sex, must be conducted strictly in accordance with the nudity writer and must adhere to the approved script. Again, she's talking about any other performer depicting the character of Lily. So that obviously means young Lily, Isabel Ferrer. She wants authorship over her and her scenes. What about the stunt double that they just hired for you? The stunt double. Yeah, so now what? Now what? They also have to adhere to your nudity writer? That's crazy because it's not even you doing it. And it's for the movie. It's a character. Lily Bloom is a freaking character. Lily Bloom is not Blake Lively. Okay? So we move on. This is the craziest thing. I mean, I haven't revisited this in a very, very long time because you only see that no more thing. We're almost there. 16. Any and all day players must be engaged through customary industry talent agencies and not through personal connections of the director and or producer. Oh, hold the phone, B. Okay, hold the phone because I want to show you my own exhibit now F. Okay, here we go. Because my, what do we have here? Robin Lively. Oh my gosh, Robin Lively. And look at that. It ends with us. How the heck did your sister land a role in It Ends With Us? Did that come from a customary industry talent agency? Or was it a personal connection? Because this B is crazy. Were you more peed off, Blake Lively, because Jamie Heath asked your sister for a hug because he's probably a huge Teen Witch fan and was like enamored with her probably more and liked her more than they liked you because you are a bitch? Were you jealous of your sister, or does this have to do with the OBGYN? What is it? What is it? Very confused here. Very confused. Very confused how your husband, along with Sean Lively, recycled the same people over and over and over and over. I mean, everyone does it. Look at Adam Sandler. I mean, he always uses the same talent. Your sister was in It Ends With Us. So is this about your sister and your jealousy towards her because there can only be one Lively? Or is this has to do with anything else? Because this is crazy. And this makes this B is crazy. Last but not least, we have hold an all-hands in-person meeting before production resumes, which will include the director, all producers, the Sony rep, the newly engaged third-party producer, BL and BL's designated reps, to confirm and approve a plan for implementation of the above that will be adhered to for the physical and emotional safety of Blake Lively, her employees, and all the cast and crew moving forward. But in order to book this all-hands meeting, she just texted Justin Baldoni. It wasn't even like, oh my gosh, I can't even go on about this. It's crazy. Her original 17-point list was already insane on its face, okay? Because half of the things she was talking about didn't even occur yet. But I get it. You never signed your contracts. You don't have your actor loan-out agreement. You never met with the intimacy coordinator. You don't have a nudity writer. All because of your actions, all because of your inactions, I should say. But then we have this completely fabricated, made up piece of shit, which is the now 30 points. Show me, okay, let's go over real quickly because I don't got time for this no more. No more showing nude videos or images of women, including producer's wife, to Blake Lively or her employees. Well, we now know that it is a birthing scene and she saw about maybe 0.2 seconds of it in her own words, okay? That's disgusting. She's literally making it seem like they were showing this to a bunch of people. Okay, that's not how it happened. Gross. No more mention of Mr. Baldoni or Mr. Heath's previous pornography addiction or Blake Lively's lack of pornography consumption to Blake Lively or to other crew members. There is no evidence of this. There is no proof that this happened. No one's come out and said this. Actually, in both Justin and Jamie's deposition, they said how they got deposed for 2 days and no one even asked them about this. Interesting. Okay. No more discussions to Blake Lively and or her employees about personal experience with sex, including as it relates to spouses or others. Well, that conversation we now know from Justin's deposition that we just read, that this was a production meeting, a creative meeting around sex scenes in which Blake Lively herself brought up her lack of orgasm first. Okay, moving on. No more mention of Blake Lively or her employees of personal times that physical consent was not given in sexual acts as either the abuser or the abused. Well, this is a personal story. Obviously, Justin Baldoni felt safe around Blake at one time from her own text messages. We can go through all of those crazy messages that she was sending him. And this is something he talked about on his podcast, in his book, and at a TED Talk. It's actually a very empowering conversation on change and how men can change and how consent has evolved over time. One conversation, ridiculous. And she has texted him way worse things. Even her husband has, saying that he's going to get his assistant's face tattooed on his perineum. Okay, no, not doing it. Next, no more descriptions of their own genitalia to Blake Lively. Well, doesn't that sound just so gross? A man just talking about his dick all the time? Well, now we know that this here is one of the most twisted things, because this was actually a conversation in pre-production when Blake Lively was pregnant, very big, very pregnant with her first son, fourth child. Ryan Reynolds was there. 2 nannies were there. Her assistant was there. And I think her housekeeper was there. And her kids were running all over the place. Ryan Reynolds was a part of the conversation in pre-production. We're talking about December 2022. And it was about circumcision. OMG. Get out of here. No more jokes or disparaging comments to be made to Blake Lively and her employees about HR complaints Wayfair has already received on set, or about missing the HR meeting. Now, this was actually said to Jenny Slate, not to Blake Lively, and this has to do with the sexy comment, where then Jenny Slate said something like, "Oh, I thought we're not going to say that word anymore," and he's like, "Oh, I missed this HR training." Oh, boo-hoo. Okay, big freaking deal. If anything, that's probably the one thing that they have on him that's the truth, that he did say that. Sorry, I missed the sexual training. No more inquiries by Mr. Baldoni to Blake Lively trainer without the knowledge or consent to disclose her weight. Again, she went a year. Didn't say anything. A year. This was already resolved. He asked the trainer. The trainer went and snitched right away to Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. Ryan Reynolds berated Justin for hours in front of Hugh Jackman and Taylor Swift until he was in fucking tears. And yet, a year later, after he had not done it again, you're going to put this in here? Okay. Sure. Yes. Psycho. No more mention by Mr. Baldoni of him speaking to Blake Lively's dead father. That was a conversation that they were having about her dead father. It was actually a pretty cool story from Justin, where Blake Lively said, "Oh, if you see him again, tell him he owes me $20. And Justin's like, "That's crazy that you just said that, because this morning I went into my jeans pocket and there was $20 there." Apparently that is sexual harassment or toxic workplace. But what's crazy is Michelle Marone on Another Simple Favor tells this beautiful story on iHeartRadio, I think it is, about the way him and Blake ended up being friends on set. And guess what the story's about? Dead parents. So it's okay for Michelle Marone, but it's not okay for Justin Baldoni. Right, clock it. No more pressing by Mr. Baldoni for Blake Lively to disclose her religious beliefs or unsolicitedly sharing of his. Well, that's never come up again, so I guess that claim's gone, because no mention of that nowhere. Okay, we move on. Great, just something to throw in there. If Blake Lively and her infant is exposed to COVID again, Blake Lively must be provided with immediate notice as soon as Wayfair or any other producers become aware of such exposure, without her needing to uncover days later herself. Well, let's look at that, okay? Again, no one even knows if she became exposed to it because she just found out someone on the crew had it. She said, I want to be notified of that. They immediately sent out an email to everyone saying, you're going to have to get tested before coming on set. She declined being tested. And then 4 days later was at a Taylor Swift concert in fucking Spain. Okay, so let's move on from that because this B is crazy. An intimacy coordinator must be present at all times when Blake Lively is on set in scenes with Mr. Baldoni. Again, intimacy coordinators are done for intimate scenes, but whatever, they did it. They gave that to her. Kind of weird since they had never filmed any intimate scenes up until this point. But I guess this list was fabricated and colluded and obviously sensationalized and redacted and no more for the New York Times, right? Because no intimate scenes were done yet. No more personal physical touching or sexual comments by Mr. Baldoni or Heath, blah, 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 blah. You get what I'm saying here? It's all a little bit crazy. We can go through it, but it just gets nuts because then they talk about saging on set. No more saging on set. I mean, no more pressing by Mr. Baldoni to sage any of Blake Lively's employees. Yeah, because y'all have evil spirits around you. I mean, if they're hanging out with you, Blake, you need a little saging, okay? And then we can go on the rest, but most of the rest are the ones that were covered obviously in different wording in her 17-point list. She had also mentioned that while they were driving, when she had the talk about the consent, but then has never brought it up again. There's so many things that she has said that she has gone and amended and re-amended and taken out and redacted and cherry-picked the text messages. The fact that people can say like they're still on her side and they believe her, even though she has known to lie. I mean, she lied about the return to work protections document. She lied about the 30 points that she put in her CRD, as well as what she put in the New York Times. All they have been doing is lying. And people out here this week being like, Wayfair lied, Justin lied, he did yell at Alex Sachs. There was another complaint on set. Yeah, a complaint not at Justin, at Jamie Heath from Jenny Slate for the sanctity of motherhood for offering her $50,000 to move. And then once she got on set with Blake Lively and heard the word sexy again, they got together and days later went to Sony about the use of the word frickin' sexy. Ridiculous. But I just wanted to play that game. This B is crazy. And I can go through her whole complaints again and show y'all where this girl is lying. The actual document itself is a lie. What she put in her CRD complaint, the 30 points is a lie. It was literally 17 points and it was worded way different. Her attacks on Wayfair and Justin Baldoni have no end. And now I've seen her out this weekend parading around, dating that little photo op with that man of color, right? Oh, please, if you took any pictures with my kid, please don't put my kids in those pictures. Why'd you bring your kids then? You post your kids all the time. Your husband, Ryan Reynolds, literally made your daughter say the most grotesque thing 500 times. But you're okay, Blake Lively, and I haven't forgotten. You're okay though, right? To dox Perez Hilton's kids in the court filings? But you take your kids out for a huge photo op where obviously you called the press, you called them all to be there with your kids, and now you're trying to act like, oh, don't post any pictures of my kids. That was a PR stunt. That was PR to show that she's a good mommy. Right. But don't talk about circumcision. Don't do anything. It's crazy. It's crazy that we've gone here almost a year. All of her lies have been completely debunked. I mean, all of her truths have been completely debunked. There's nothing left. She's actually withdrawn 2 of her biggest claims for emotional distress. The things that she has done this year and the way she continues to push forward and double and triple down, even though the case is falling apart day by day, now she's resorting for Jamie Heath. First, it was Justin Baldoni was the bad guy in the original complaint, the amended complaint, the second amended complaint. Now, all of a sudden, it's Jamie Heath. Now, all of a sudden, him saying you're going to be birthed into this role is enough. We have to, at some point, call a spade a spade. We have to, at some point, be able to tell the difference between truth and fiction, between reality and delusion. And Blake Lively is deluded AF. You hear me? She's not right. Neither is her husband. And I truly think all of this so that she can stand with the big dogs. Her BFF, Taylor Swift, and her husband, Ryan Reynolds. It's crazy. It's crazy that a 2-week cycle of bad PR where she couldn't sell her hair care line, she couldn't promote her husband's movie at the same time, she couldn't sell her alcohol line to us. People were not buying it. People were not buying it. They couldn't handle it, her and her husband. They really thought they were going to have 2 of the biggest movies of the summer and come out the power couple. Come out on top. Come out. Everyone's going to want them. Everyone's going to love them. Everyone's going to adore them. Finally, the narcissist gets what it wants. Unlimited love from everyone. But for once in their life, and this is the first time they've ever been held accountable for any of their decades of bad treatment. Decades. The first time they've been held accountable. And the world said, no. What you're doing is distasteful. What you're doing is disgusting. What you're doing is so wrong to real DV survivors. You're tone deaf. The marketing campaign isn't working. This is what happened. They thought from this movie and from Maximum Extortion taking over the marketing that they were going to put Blake Lively at the top as A-list actresses. But she's not. I mean, her whole attitude, being able to tell stories and acting, tells us she isn't. And it didn't work. They didn't make the millions and billions of dollars they wanted to last summer, and they needed someone to blame. So they concocted this big, huge story. They magnified things that were so small, magnified them, twisted it, turned them, flipped them on its head, took conversations over a circumcision that happened years. December of 2022, and then in December of 2024, 2 years later, she's putting that into a CRD complaint, but twisting it so that no one knows what it is except Justin Baldoni talking about his genitalia. It's disgusting. It's crazy. This bee is crazy. I don't know how anyone can look at this and see the evidence that we already know now and still be like, oh, no, Blake Lively's telling you the truth. Okay, all right. Only time will tell once we get a lot more stuff unsealed. And I hope to hear some people really coming to terms with the fact that they were wrong. I hope you're having a great day. That's the whole video. Lots to cover. There's still a lot to happen this week. It's only Monday, but I want to thank you so much for being here. And yeah, if hopefully even one person that didn't know any of this information can look at it and be like, maybe let me reassess where I am on this whole thing, you know? Because I don't understand how people are now this week being like, Justin lied. Wayfair is so bad. Wayfair lied. Are we okay, ho? You know? Anyway, I'm going to the movies tonight. I'm super excited. Can't wait. I'll let you guys know how it is tomorrow. And yeah, let me know what you think about this video and anything else you want me to cover. I love you so much. This week is going to be crazy. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, that's it. I'll talk to you soon. Love you. Bye.